From the mud to the rise, yeah, we built it on the grind. Trench talk, real talk, leave the fake ones behind. We don't fold, we don't break, every move we define. It's the code from the trenches where the real ones align.
Yo, strap in, cause this ain't no bedtime story. This is the real deal about how a gang of Chicago youngins turned into a blood-soaked empire that had the feds shaking in their suits. We talking Black P Stones, but don't get it twisted. These ain't your average street clowns. Nah, these dudes built a dynasty so deadly, they had foreign dictators funding their war. It all started in the late 50s, when two cold-hearted visionaries, Eugene Hairston and Jeff Fort, looked at Chicago's streets and said, "Why hustle small when we can rule it all?" They flipped a local crew called the Blackstone Rangers into a military-grade operation, stacking bread, bodies, and power like it was nothing. But Fort wasn't satisfied just running the streets. Oh, hell no. This dude switched the game, taking the Stones into the Islamic underworld, rebranding as El Rukin. That's the foundation for y'all who don't speak gangster. Suddenly, these dudes weren't just shooters, they were holy warriors with a revolutionary agenda. Now here's where it gets wild. Fort linked up with Libya's dictator Muammar Gaddafi and the Sandinistas, yeah, the same rebels who had whole government sweating. The feds caught wind that the Stones were plotting bombings, assassinations, and straight-up acts of war, all for foreign cash. In 1986, the hammer dropped. 4 El Rukin generals got bagged for conspiring with terrorists. The first time in U.S. history, a street gang got hit with charges like that. These dudes weren't just gangbangers, they were international mercenaries. This crew of young wolves from Chicago's South Side turned their hood into a war machine, then spread their terror worldwide. We talking about the Black P Stone Nation, but forget what you heard. This ain't just another gang. This was a blood-stained dynasty that rewrote the rules of the streets. In Woodlawn, where two young visionaries, Jeff Fort and Eugene Hairston, looked at their broken neighborhood and said, "We ain't just surviving, we're taking over." They started as the Blackstone Rangers, a so-called youth program, but behind the scenes, murder, extortion, total domination. By the early 60s, these dudes weren't just running blocks, they were running cities. They rebranded as the Black P Stone Nation, preaching peace while moving weight, stacking bodies, and turning Chicago into their personal battlefield. But Fort wasn't done. He flipped the script again, diving deep into Islamic radicalism, renaming himself Abdul Malik Kaaba, and turning the Stones into a cult-like army with ties to Libyan terrorists. Yeah, you heard that right. This street gang was getting foreign government checks to blow up America. While Fort was playing international terrorist, the Stones were spreading like a virus. Indiana, Texas, even Australia. They planted flags everywhere, turning small-town corners into war zones. Then came Los Angeles, where O.G.T. Rogers, a Stone general, built his own empire from the ground up. He linked with the Bloods, turning jungles and Crenshaw into Stone strongholds. The Crips tried to stop him. Bad move. The Piru Bloods had their back, and soon the West Coast was drenched in red. Fort's ego was his downfall. After getting caught stealing nearly $1 million in government funds, he still thought he was untouchable. Then came the Libya deal, plotting terror attacks for Gaddafi's cash. The feds dropped the hammer. 80 years in Supermax, buried alive in a concrete tomb. But the drama didn't stop. His own lieutenants turned on him. Mickey Cobras and Titanic Stones split off, sparking civil wars that still burn today. And Hairston, murdered in '88, proof that even kings don't die old in this game. Listen up. You already know how the Black P Stones turned Chicago into their personal kingdom and spread their empire worldwide. But no king rules alone. Every dynasty needs allies, and in the streets of LA, the Stones found their deadliest partners in crime, the Rollin 20s Bloods. Back in 1972, LA was Crip-dominated turf. These blue bandana bandits ran the city unchecked until the smaller gangs said enough. They linked up, flipped the script, and the Bloods were born. Red flags up, war mode activated. But the Bloods ain't just one crew. Nah, they're a federation of savage sets, and one of the most feared, the Rollin 20s. These dudes weren't just about banging, they were strategists, turning their hood into a fortress and their name into legend. When the Black P Stones hit LA, they weren't just outsiders, they were targets. The Crips wanted them gone, but the Stones had a secret weapon, the Rollin 20s. See, the 20s had beef with the Crips longer than anybody, so when the Stones rolled in, it was a match made in gangster heaven. The Pirates, OG Bloods, backed the Stones, and suddenly, the Crips weren't just fighting one crew, they were fighting a red and black tidal wave. The Rollin 20s didn't just hold their block, they expanded like a virus. From Compton to New York, from Atlanta to the damn Midwest, if there was money to be made and ops to crush, the 20s planted their flag. And the Stones, they kept it global, linking with international players, moving weight, and turning their name into synonymous with power. Together, these crews proved one thing: loyalty ain't just about colors, it's about bodies dropped and money stacked. You already know how the Black P Stones and Rollin 20s Bloods turned the West Coast into their bloody playground, but every king needs a rival, and in these streets, the Crips ain't just enemies, they're the arch nemesis, the Joker to their Batman, the Thanos to their Avengers. Two young visionaries, Raymond Washington and Tookie Williams, looked at LA's chaos and said, "Let's organize this madness." And just like that, the Crips were born. Started as a neighborhood protection squad, but power corrupts fast. By the 70s, they weren't just defending blocks, they were taking them, turning blue rags into a symbol of fear. Not all Crips are the same. Some sets, built different. The Rollin 30s and Rollin 40s weren't just gangsters. They were strategists, executioners, and straight-up warlords. These dudes ran South Central like it was their personal empire, turning every alley into a potential ambush zone. And when the Bloods rose up, the 30s and 40s didn't back down. They doubled down. Shootouts, daily, body count, sky high. This wasn't just gang beef, it was generational warfare. While the Rollin 20s Bloods were expanding, the 30s and 40s were right behind them, planting flags in New York, Texas, even overseas. Everywhere the Bloods went, the Crips followed like shadows, turning rival cities into mirror battlefields of LA's war. Think Yankees versus Red Sox? Nah. Cowboys versus 49ers? Weak. The Rollin 20s versus Rollin 30s 40s beef was real, personal, and deadly. Drive-bys? Routine. Jungle ambushes? Standard. All-out block wars? Just another Tuesday. This wasn't just about territory. It was about legacy, pride, and survival. You think the Black P Stones just wandered into LA and took over? N.A.A. This was a hostile takeover orchestrated by a teenage general who flipped the whole city upside down. Back in Chicago, a young 11-year-old was already deep in the Blackstone trenches, running with OGs twice his age. When his mama found out, she panicked. "We moving to LA." She thought sunshine and palm trees would save him. Spoiler alert, it didn't. By 14, this kid, now calling himself T. Rogers, wasn't just adjusting to LA. He was rebuilding it in Chicago's image. T. Rogers hit the Jungles, a rough-ass neighborhood near Crenshaw, and immediately clocked the game. Weak leadership? Check. Unorganized hustlers? Check. Prime territory up for grabs? Oh, hell yeah. With Stone tactics and Chicago ruthlessness, he recruited hundreds in months. The Jungles wasn't just his now, it was BPS property. Once the Jungles fell, T. Rogers set his sights on Village Green Apartments, took it easy. The whole block up Crenshaw took it even easier. By 1972, this teenage mob boss had 700 plus soldiers under him, the biggest territory in LA. Crips sweating bullets every time they saw red. LA already had a Crip problem, so T. Rogers made a power move. We rockin' red now. Linked with Bloods, double the manpower. Rollin 30s across Crenshaw. New targets, Rollin 40s down the block. Add them to the hit list overnight. The Stones weren't just a Chicago problem. They were LA's new nightmare. Stones weren't just fighting the Crips. They were staring down the barrel of 18th Street, the most ruthless, bloodthirsty gang in California. Back in the 1960s, when the Stones were still young in Chicago, a crew of outcast Mexicans in LA's Rampart District got sick of being rejected by the OG Hispanic gangs. So what did they do? They built their own empire. Clanton 14 told them, "Nah, you ain't Mexican enough." So they flipped the script. "Fine, we'll make our own gang, and we'll take everybody." And just like that, 18th Street was born, multi-ethnic, ruthless, and hungry for war. 30,000 plus soldiers and counting. Fast forward a few decades, and 18th Street ain't just a gang, it's a global cartel. 50,000 plus members from LA to El Salvador. Drugs, murder, extortion, you name it, they run it. Face tattoos, blue and black flags, and a rep for executing anybody in their way. These dudes don't play. They recruit kids as young as 10, turning them into stone-cold killers before they even hit high school. Now imagine this, T. Rogers and the Stones just took over the jungles, feeling unstoppable, until they realized they were surrounded by 18th Street killers. North, 18th Street. South, 18th Street. East, you guessed it, 18th Street. The Stones thought they had it rough with the Crips. NAA. 18th Street brought military-type warfare to the streets. Blood in the jungles, the battle for LA. Every day was a life-or-death chess match. Drive-bys, routine, ambushes, expected. Body count, sky high. The Stones had heart, loyalty, and Chicago tactics, but 18th Street had numbers, brutality, and zero mercy. In 2006, the beef between all parties hit a whole new level of savagery, and it all started with a 15-year-old blood named Teddy Snyder who left a Crip paralyzed for life. July 6, 2006, 6:00 p.m. Two Rollin 30s, Harlem Crips, Kevin Flowers and Jeremy Deshawn were just strolling down Jefferson Boulevard, minding their business. Then a white Impala cruised past. The dudes inside threw a mean mug. Kevin's gut said, "Danger." He was right. Minutes later, the Impala circled back. Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. Gunfire erupted. Jeremy took a bullet in the foot. Kevin got hit twice, side and foot, but the worst part, the second shot shattered his spine, paralyzed for life. When Detective Corey Farrow showed up, Kevin played dumb. "Nah, I didn't see who did it." But when the cop closed his notebook, Kevin whispered, "It was Teddy, a 15-year-old blood from Dorsey High." Why the secrecy? Gang code. Snitches die. Teddy already had beef with Kevin from school. Kevin knew testifying equals a death sentence. Even when Farrow showed him a photo lineup, Kevin pointed at Teddy but begged, "If I go to court, I'm dead. My mom's a single parent. I can't leave my little sister alone." 1 year later, it got even worse, but we are going to get to that part later. September 24th, 2006, 2:45 p.m. Caesar pulls up to his crib with his two baby girls strapped in the back. Before his foot even hits the pavement, a whip screeches up blasting "Fuck 18th Street, Black P Stone rules." Gun barrels flash. Cesar books it but eats lead, crashing to the concrete. But these savages weren't done. Jonathan, a Black P Stone cold demon, runs back to the car where two little girls are screaming. What does this coward do? Opens fire on the back seat. One baby girl never made it to her next birthday. The streets talked. A locked up BPS rat started singing, detailing how Jonathan boasted about the hit. Tried to take it back when the heat came. Too late. Cesar pointed the finger, witnesses talked, and the judge dropped the hammer. Life with no key. 2006 was LA's bloodiest year, and Chris Avila was about to learn why you never move into BPS turf without permission. This fool thought just because he wasn't officially 18th Street, he could post up on Pineapple Street, in the heart of Stone territory. Big mistake. September 24th, 2006. Chris picks up his daughters from school, living his best life. Meanwhile, BPS shooter Laurent Boogie Lattimore spots him and instantly catches a case of the dumbass. "You see that? There go one right there," he tells his homie Jonathan Gambino Banks. Gambino ain't stupid. He tells Boogie to bounce. But Boogie's ego is writing checks his trigger finger can't cash. He rolls up screaming F18. Chris claps back FBPS. Last words he should have said. Boogie lights him up in front of his 3-year-old daughter. Gambino? He's already hiding behind a tree like a scared puppy. Later that night, BPS comes knocking, telling Gambino to skip town before Boogie silences him for good. Dude shaves his head and runs to San Bernardino like a marked man. But here's the kicker. Gambino gets arrested first because some witness swears he saw him in a brown van. He wasn't. Facing life, he sings like Canary about Boogie's dirty work. Judge don't care. Gives Boogie 80 years and Gambino gets life too. March 2nd, 2008, a guy named Jamal was just trying to make it home from the bus stop 3 blocks away from safety. He on the phone with his pops, probably telling them how practice went, maybe even joking around. Then out of nowhere, a whip pulls up. Windows slide down, and you already know what time it is. "Where you from?" That infamous question. Before Jamal could even react, the chopper started singing a lullaby. Multiple shots, no mercy. Just like that, youngin' was laid out, his future wiped clean. And the craziest part, his pops was still on the line, hearing everything. Imagine that pain. 1 second, you're talking to your son. The next, you listening to his last breath. Now, who was behind this cold-blooded hit? None other than Pedro from 18th Street, a trigger-happy crash dummy with no off switch. The media tried to spin it like he took out an innocent kid, but hold up. Soon as them old photos of Jamal surfaced, it was a different story. Bro wasn't just playing football, he was playing the Bloods versus the World game, throwing up sets like a varsity letterman. Was he active? Maybe, maybe not. But when you straddling that line between student athlete and street certified, you gotta know the risks. Either way, Pedro thought he was untouchable until the boys pulled up and put them cuffs on him like they was custom fitted. The courts weren't playing with him either. They ain't even waste no time. Straight to death row. Now he's sitting up in San Quentin, waiting on that final appointment with the Grim Reaper. The same energy he had hopping out that car? Yeah, let's see if he got it when the state flips that switch. Ain't no ducking fate, homie. May 8th, 2009, Rosa and her man Luis just chilling in the whip, politicking with the neighbor Kenneth. Seemed like a regular night, until a blacked out ride slid through on straight demon time. 3 dudes hopped out, blitz mode activated, and let them things ring off. Kenneth must have had spidey sense cause he ducked and came out untouched. Luis caught one in the arm, but Rosa, man, they gave her the whole drum. She ain't make it. Now the streets ain't let that slide. Word was, this hit went down cause they was chilling too close to 18th Street's turf. BPS took that personally, like Jordan in the 90s, and started lurking. But before they could slide, 12 was already on it. They spotted the getaway car at a gas station deep in BPS's hood. And just like that, clank clank, everybody in cuffs. Joel and Eric thought they was getting away till the boys raided the crib and found everything they needed to tie them to the scene. And Luis? Oh, he wasn't playing no street code games. He pointed them out like he was calling plays in the huddle. Fast forward to trial, and these two must have thought they was in a movie because they refused to even show up. Judge told Joel to speak, and bro hit him with, "Why? You already given me life." Judge was like, "You damn right." Boom. Both got hit with the forever vacation package. No parole, no sunshine, just life in a cage. But wait, this wild night ain't even the grand finale. Next up, Giovanni from the 20 Bloods posted outside his crib with his girl when James P pulled up looking like he was on some smooth operator vibes. But James ain't know where he was at. Bro was fish out of water, straight tourist mode. Turns out James was waiting on some chick named Diana. She came out, hopped in his ride, but Giovanni wasn't feeling dude's presence. Instead of just minding his business, he sent his girl over to investigate. Real setup vibes. Now James, he thought he was in a rom-com, started flirting with Giovanni's girl like he ain't just pull up in enemy territory. But when she told him who her man was, that's when he knew he fumbled the bag. Giovanni walked up, hit him with the infamous question, "Where you from?" And James, he hesitated. Fatal mistake. He mumbled something about being from the 40s, and before he could even process what was happening, Giovanni upped the blower and turned him into a mural. Giovanni dipped off, but his girl, she wasn't built for this life, panicked and threw the strap in the bushes. Too bad the boys found it, scooped her up, and hit her with accessory charges. She folded faster than a cheap lawn chair and sang like she was auditioning for American Idol. 15 months in exchange for the full script. Giovanni? Oh, they threw the whole book at him, hit him with 50 years to life. Now he's sitting in the pen, probably wondering if that one little question was worth a half-century in a cage. But hey, the streets don't do refunds. It's February 7th, 2010, 3 a.m. in the Rollin 30s outside Turn It Some party. Among the crowd, Charles Allen, Antonio Burton, Brandon Maxwell, and a shorty named BK Barbie. Yeah, real gangster nickname, huh? They vibing, minding they business. Till a black pea stone slid through and lit the spot up. L Shady Boy caught one, and just like that, the function turned into a revenge mission. No hesitation. Charles hopped in the Chevy Traverse with the squad, fully loaded, and they hit the road, looking for ops like DoorDash drivers on a mission. 4:30 a.m., still lurking, they spotted Darnell Jackson and his homie Jeremy Owens. Now, these two just trying to make it home, but when that SUV pulled up, they already knew the vibes. Windows down, gang signs up. Darnell and Jeremy kept it cool and kept walking, but plot twist, that truck slid off into an alley and these dudes popped out on foot. Now they face to face, grilling them down. "Where y'all from?" Interrogation mode. Darnell and Jeremy ain't even bang, but the squad wasn't trying to hear that. Darnell even showed his tattoos like he was at a job interview, but guess what? They wasn't hiring. Few whispers between the crew, and then, boom, execution style. One of them spun around and put Darnell down with a shot to the dome. Jeremy took off, but these fools wasn't done spraying the block. Chased him down and lit him up, but somehow, bro lived. When the smoke cleared, Darnell was gone. He was rocking all red kicks, red fit, that STL Cardinals hat, which, if you know, means stone love in the streets. Jeremy later told 12 he thought Darnell was a blood. Wrong place, wrong colors, wrong night. Now here's where the squad fumbled the bag. Charles, bro had an ankle monitor on, so when investigators pressed him, he hit him with the I wasn't there act. But GPS said otherwise. Had him at the party, at the scene, and all over the map like Google Street View. Then they showed him a pic of BK Barbie, and suddenly, bro's story turned into, I was just driving to the beach. Yeah, at 4 a.m. with a fully armed squad? Sure, buddy. Now here's where it gets real movie-like. While sitting in the pen, Charles made a jail call and basically admitted he cooked. Later that night, he tapped in with Brandon, and these fools had a whole hit request over the phone. Brandon, I could do what I do on the Barbie. Charles, all day, it's on my lead. Brandon, say no more. Gang expert later said this was a green light to knock off BK Barbie, cause Charles was convinced she was snitching. Crazy, right? Then enters Gene Palacio, a dude who must have watched too many crime documentaries, cause he folded ASAP. He told the court that Charles pulled up at his crib in the same damn Chevy just hours after the hit. Bro said Charles told him, some bloods shot up our party, so we went to handle business in BPS hood. Then he broke it all down, how they spotted two guys, how Darnell had on red chucks, how they spun the block and hopped out 3 deep, 3 straps and left no witnesses, or so they thought. At the end of it all, Charles Allen got smacked with 40 years to life, full gang and gun enhancements, no parole, no daylight. As for Antonio, Brandon, and BK Barbie, ain't nobody know for sure. They might have snitched, cut deals, or slid through the cracks. But one thing's clear, the streets keep receipts and karma don't forget. 2010, middle of the night, the Rollin 30s outside vibing at a party in they own hood. 3 a.m., everything cool, until it wasn't. Some BPS hitters slid through and let the heat sing, leaving one of the 30s leaking on the pavement. Big mistake. Cause if you know how this go, you already know retaliation was mandatory. Charles and his squad hopped in the whip, slid right into enemy territory, fully loaded, looking for somebody, anybody, to catch lacking. 4:30 a.m., they spotted 2 dudes walking, Jack and O. Now Jack messed up bad, rocking a STL Cardinals hat, which if you outside, you know that's BPS uniform. That's basically wearing a shoot me sign in the wrong neighborhood. So the Travers creeped up, window rolled down, one of them hit him with the classic, where y'all from? But before Jack and O could even stutter out a response, the SUV peeled off like it was nothing. But see, that was just the setup, cause before them boys could even process what happened, 3 ghosts materialized behind them like a horror movie, pressed them hard. Jack and O tried the usual, we don't bang, but come on now, who's believing that? Wrong colors, wrong time, wrong neighborhood. One of the 30s just smirked and said, aight, let's get it. And before Jack could even blink, boom, execution, brains on the sidewalk, lights out. O tried to run for his life, but all he caught was a graze to the dome, luckiest man alive. Now here's where Charles fumbled the whole operation. My guy had a whole ankle monitor on. Bro basically let 12 track him like Uber Eats. They knew his every move. So when they pulled him in, he hit him with the usual I wasn't there story. But GPS said otherwise. Had him at the party, had him in BPS hood, had him right at the scene. And then, dude doubled down on dumb. While sitting in jail, he made a call putting a hit on one of his own people. The cops ain't even have to decode that one. Charles was basically screaming, yeah, I did it, and I'm still running the show. Biggest self-snitch of the year, and that's how they made Charles the poster boy for bad decision making. 40 years to life, whole career gone, all cause he couldn't keep his mouth shut and took directions from a GPS ankle bracelet. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. July 5th, 2010, middle of the night, another classic case of should've stayed home. Keith Campbell pulled up to a Valero gas station, middle of Rollin 40s territory, late as hell in a BMW like this was a music video and not the trenches. His cousin Chad in the passenger seat, clueless about the storm brewing. Keith hops out, heading to the cashier window when he notices two dudes dripped in all red strutting up on him. You already know what time it is. They hit him with the dreaded question, "Where are you from?" That's the universal final exam in the streets, and if you ain't studied, failing means death. Keith ain't answer. Instead, he hit max speed back to the Beamer, yelling at Chad to run. Bro knew what was about to go down. Keith jumps in the back seat like he trying to Uber himself to safety, while Chad scrambles out the car. Too late. Guns up, muzzle flashes, 30 rounds start singing a death tune. The BMW turned into Swiss cheese. Keith caught two slugs, one in the chest, one in the shoulder. Chad tried to get Ghost but got lit up like a Christmas tree. He ain't make it. Shooters vanished into the night, leaving Keith gasping, calling 911, probably mad at himself for pulling up there in the first place. By the time cops arrived, all they saw was a bullet-riddled BMW, a shattered window, and Chad face down on the pavement, DOA. Detectives pulled up trying to piece the puzzle together. 22 shell casings, bullet fragments in the whip, stray rounds everywhere. But see, the killers weren't as slick as they thought. 40 minutes later, guess who pops up at the hospital? 4 dudes rocking all red, dragging one of their homies in like it's a war zone. One of them got a hole in his face. Soon as they dumped the wounded one, they peeled off in a gray Chevy Malibu. But 12 was already on their bumper. Sheriff's deputy pulled them over, caught the passenger trying to tuck something in the console. Dumb move. They all got yanked out the car. Now the dude left at the hospital? That was Arturo Collins, aka Poppy, the walking L of the night. My guy caught a bullet straight through his left eye. Didn't die, didn't go blind, just out here looking like a rejected Marvel villain. Cops ran the gas station footage and saw one of the shooters get hit right in the eye. Boom, case closed. They checked cell phone towers, and guess whose phone pinged at the crime scene? Arturo, aka the human evidence bag. Bro basically checked himself into prison. Fast forward to court. They played the tape, showed the bullet hole in Arturo's face, lined up his Metro PCS records like a math equation. Even a gang expert testified, putting the final nail in his coffin. They had him from every angle. Verdict, guilty. Murder. Attempted murder. Gun charges, gang enhancement. They threw the whole book at him. Might as well have hit him with the bookshelf too. Now Poppy ain't popping nothing but prison doors open. Rest of his life behind bars, cause he thought he was built for this. Another one bites the dust. Enter Ricky. Dude repping BPS, feeling untouchable, but his weakness? A chick named Rhonda. She had him moving like a lovesick crash dummy. But see, Rhonda had another homie, Wasan. He was from Rollin 30s and living in enemy territory like it was sweet. February 2011, Ricky and one of his homies pull up to Wasan's spot, trying to press him. Yo, you from 30s? Basically the gangbang version of what's up. But before it could get spicy, a security guard stepped in like it was WWE SmackDown. Crisis averted, for now. A couple days later, Wasan seen Ricky again and tried to set up the fade. Square up, mano a mano. But guess what Ricky did? Took off like he was late for a bus. Ain't even looked back. Wasan, feeling disrespected, ran to Rhonda, spilling the whole thing like she was a therapist. Big mistake. Cause see, Rhonda wasn't just taking notes, she was plotting. She lined Wasan up like a fresh cut. Days later, she slid through on some let's chill energy. Whole time, it was a setup. While Wasan chilling, thinking it's all good, Rhonda pulls some slick shit, unlocks his sliding door when he ain't looking, and boom, Ricky and 2 masked demons rush in like a home invasion scene straight out of a horror flick. No talking, just hands, feet, elbows, knees. Boy got jumped like a car battery. Wasan tried to make a run for it, but Ricky wasn't about to let that happen. Bow, bow, bow. 5 shots rang out. Wasan hit the floor leaking. Mission complete. But since Ricky and his squad were on some budget criminal SAT, they grabbed computers and phones like this was a Black Friday sale. Then they vanished. But here's where it gets pathetic. Wasan lived. And not only did he live, he snitched on everybody. Told 12 the whole script like he was reading a teleprompter. Even gave up Rhonda, the mastermind behind the setup. Cops scooped her up, and guess what? The receipts was crazy. Messages between her and Ricky laid it all out. Plot, attack, getaway. They might as well have written a confession letter. When it was time for sentencing, Ricky got slammed with 40 years. Whole life gone over some petty beef. And Rhonda only got 6 months on an ankle monitor. She probably out right now posting selfies while Ricky eating ramen and reading the Bible in a cell. Moral of the story? Never trust a chick with a hidden agenda, never run from a fade, and if you gonna do crime, don't text about it, dummy. Aye, and with that, we gonna wrap this one up, but don't get it twisted. The war between Black P. Stones and Rollin 20, Bloods versus Rollin 30s, Rollin 40s, Crips and 18th Street got way more bodies, way more drama, and we just getting started. Part 2, oh, it's coming. Best believe I got more savage cases related to that war to break down. So hit that like button, share this with the homies, and if you ain't subscribed yet, what you waiting on? Tap in now before you miss the next one. Y'all stay dangerous, but stay smart. I'll catch y'all in the next one. I'm out.